and get started this morning. If you would please stand with me. Dennis, would you lead us in the pledge, please?
Sure. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Steve, would you pray for us, please?
Let us pray. Father, we thank you for your goodness, for your presence with us. We ask you to bless our club and help us as we endeavor to do your work and to help our communities and our nation and the world as a whole. We ask you, Lord, to help us in this parade tonight, protect each one. We pray you bless our efforts going forward in the coming year. We give you praise. We ask you bless us food to the nourishment of our bodies. In Jesus' name.
I don't see Nelson, so y'all are going to get off easy this week. We'll just sing Rotary.
R-O-T-A-R-Y, that spells Rotary. R-O-T-A-R-Y is known on land and sea. From north to south, from east to west, he profits most who serves the best. R-O-T-A-R-Y, that spells Rotary. Always
Who can tell me what happened last week? Kurt.
Road cleanup.
Road cleanup did happen last week. Good answer. Who else can tell me what happened last week? No. Yes, Polly. We celebrated our 75th year as the Rotary Club in Batesville, Arkansas on the 25th of last week. So I think we all deserve a round of applause and congratulations. All right. Birthdays, we didn't have any this week, or anniversaries, wedding anniversaries, but I had in my notes that Steve Massey, today is your 30th year, no, I'm sorry, your 6th year in the Batesville Rotary Club. On the 30th. So congratulations, Steve. Johnny, he's hiding from me, way back there in the corner.
Well, I had to sit back here at the lucky table. You know, that table always wins. Except for Robin Joe. So it's Christmas time. You're all aware of that. You just have a few shopping days left. We made it through Black Friday. But Santa's at the mall. And the little boy stood in line, finally got on Santa's lap. Santa said, "Son, what do you want for Christmas?" "Santa, I want a train set." Santa said, "Oh, that's good. I'll bet your dad will play with that with you." The little boy went blank, kind of stared off into space. Santa said, "Well, better say something else to him." "Well, son, what else do you want?" "Well, in consideration, Santa, you probably better bring me another train set." His dad was going to play with it too. My jokes are so simple.
Get one, Johnny.
Let's see,
I
who
do
laughed?
not approve these prior to meetings, just so that y'all know.
They're all clean. I can tell another one though.
No. You're good.
Oh dear. I think there's a guy sitting here that I haven't picked up yet. Blade,
Yes, sir.
do you know who your Rotary best friend is?
I do. It's Bill Olson.
Okay. Have you met? Can you tell me anything?
I know that Bill's wife's name is Hayes, and they have a property shop.
Oh,
Thank you, Johnny.
you handled that well. I want y'all to take note of that. Blade, thank you, Blade. That's it. He's run me off.
Good answer. Kurt, do you have a secretary report for us today?
Well, I haven't finished counting up the attendance, but other than two gentlemen with our speaker, who we'll introduce later, the only guest that I see here, unless I've overlooked one, is one that I brought, and that's Dr. Phil Cavalier. Welcome him back, Vice President for Academic Services at Lyon College.
Great. Carter Ford was door greeter today, but Carter couldn't make it, so Polly stepped up for Carter and was our door greeter today, and I think Polly did a marvelous job. So thank you, Polly. Next week will be Dwight Ford. Okay, just a couple of quick announcements. Today is the Christmas parade this evening. We're going to meet at about 6:15 in the big glass building on Main Street. I'm not going to call it what I usually call it, Steve. I see you laughing. We've got lots of candy, and we need lots of helpers to come and help pass that out tonight. So I'm asking that if you are coming tonight to help with the parade, when you leave here today, please grab a couple of these bags of candy because I can't do it all by myself. So if you're coming tonight, come get your candy and bring it with you tonight when you come and meet with us. The Christmas party / 75th celebration party is scheduled for December the 14th here at Lion upstairs at 6 p.m. You can register on DACDB, and there's also a sign-up sheet that's being passed around today. You're more than welcome to bring as many guests as you like with you. Its cost is $25 a person. We're going to start at 6 p.m. with a few drinks that evening. And I am still looking for Who's Who forms and speakers. So if you have not turned in your Who's Who form, or if you would like to say a few words that evening, please let me know. Okay, with that, I'm going to introduce our speaker. Today we have Dr. Michael Moore. He's the Vice President of Academic Affairs for the University of Arkansas System, where he assists UA institutions in academic program development and regulatory approvals. He is currently leading the creation and launch of the University of Arkansas's eVersity, a fully online university that will deliver high-quality, accessible, affordable, and workplace-relevant degrees. The eVersity will offer its first course in the fall of 2015. Have y'all launched that now? Great. With that, here's Dr. Moore.
Thank you very much for having me. Can you hear me without the microphone? I've got my class professor voice on. I can usually take a room this size pretty easily. Thank you very much for the opportunity to speak with you today. I'm thankful that's rain outside and not snow this time of year. It's horrible out there. I do have a couple people with me here. Chris Dickey, who I think some of you do know, who spent several years up here in Batesville. He's the Director of Employer Outreach and Employer Relations Community Outreach with eVersity. And Nate Hinkle is our Director of Communication for eVersity and also serves in that capacity with the UA system. And I want a special hello to a colleague of ours, who all of you in the room I assume know, Debbie Frazier, who's the Chancellor here at UACCB. Has been a good friend of the effort here that we're undertaking with eVersity. I want to tell you a little bit about what it is we're doing today with eVersity and why we are doing it, and really to talk to you. My broader theme is about the importance of education. I'm happy to be here on the campus in this beautiful facility here at Lyon College. I'll start by telling you a story about my father. My dad graduated from high school in 1957. He's part of what's called the silent generation. From the looks of some people in the room, you might be part of that generation as well. And when he graduated high school, he didn't know quite what he wanted to do with his life, so he spent about a year driving the milk truck for the local creamery. And then a friend of his was headed off to the Navy. This is the period between the Vietnam War and the Korean War. And he knew he was probably going to get his draft notice, so he decided to go down and get his buddy enlisted in the Navy, and he spent 4 years out on an aircraft carrier. Got back from the Navy and had GI benefits, thought he wanted to go to college, and he did. So he went to college for a few weeks and quit. He wasn't ready for it, he wasn't prepared, wasn't successful in the early days of college. And because he picked up some training in the Navy, he went to work for a company that some of you may remember called Trans World Airlines. He worked on airplanes on the aircraft carrier. That's what he ended up doing for 38 years. Had a good long career with TW Airlines. And made a good living. Nice, solid, middle-class job. Fixing airplanes, working on the communications equipment, all the wiring and stuff that makes the planes go. I was always fascinated when I got to go with the hangar and see the planes all stripped down without any seats in them, all those cables in it. Just kind of fascinated me. In his generation, you were able to access the middle class without a college degree. And in fact, for his generation, only 5% of the people that had just a high school degree found their way into poverty. Most people were able to have the middle class dream. He raised 2 boys, he sent us off to college, paid for all the college tuition without any debt, bought and paid for a home that they still live in, sort of the prototypical white house with a picket fence around it. Always had a couple of cars that were, reliable and functional. It's everything you would expect the middle class dream to be. And he did all of that without a college education, because that was possible. It was accessible with a high school degree, which the government paid for, if you think about it. High school degree is paid for by our tax dollars that pay for the school system. The world is really different today, and that story is actually probably not possible for most individuals. We know a whole lot about the value of a college education. We know that individuals that have college degrees, and when I talk about a college degree, I'm talking about both an associate degree from a place like UACCB or a 4-year degree from a place like Lyon College here. We know that people with college degrees have, the communities that have those higher rates of college have lower crime rates, for example. We know that they lead healthier lifestyles. People that have college educations, there's less incidence of obesity, there's more likely to exercise, you have lower incidence of heart disease. We know that the communities that have higher levels of education have a greater appreciation for the arts. They're better places to live. They're the kinds of communities that we tend to aspire to. And at a very personal level, we know that a college education really has a transformative power on your individual life. Over the course of a lifetime, the Department of Labor tells us that a college graduate will earn over $1 million more today than will somebody with just a high school degree. Earning an associate's degree increases your salary nationally about 41%. Baccalaureate degree, 61% over having just a high school degree. In the state of Arkansas, you're 30% more likely to be employed if you have a college degree than if you have just a high school degree. And during this last economic downturn that we went through, the national unemployment rate was averaging between 10 and 12%, depending on the month that you were doing it. The unemployment rate for somebody with a college degree was 2.7%. So it has tremendous transformative power on individuals and the community. And yet, despite this power of a college education, we literally have a college-going crisis in this country. Not enough of our people are going to college, and more importantly, not enough of them are successful once they get there. The United States used to be the undisputed leader in the world in terms of the percent of its adult population that earned a college degree. And that's no longer the truth today. If you look around at most of the polls that sort of compare us to other nations, depending on the survey you look at, we're somewhere between 14th and 16th in the world now in terms of the percent of our adult population that acquires a college degree. We have 31 million Americans that started college, earned some credit, and did not earn either an associate's degree or a baccalaureate degree. In the state of Arkansas, that's 356,000 people, according to numbers from the Illumina Foundation. That's 1 out of almost every 10 adults in the state of Arkansas. It places us 49th in the nation in terms of the percent of our adult population that has a college degree. 3 years ago, we were 1.5% ahead of West Virginia. Usually we say thank God for Mississippi. In this case, it's thank God for Mississippi, or West Virginia rather. We were 1.5% ahead of them. We are 0.4% ahead of West Virginia right now. They have closed the gap. They've gotten very aggressive. If we don't change our trajectory, we will soon find ourselves in 50th. And while that sounds like some abstract number on a chart, it has real impact. I talked about it just a moment ago, some of the impacts on our community. It also impacts our ability to attract employers to the state that want to try to find a skilled workforce. We don't have a whole lot of the jobs in this country anymore that are putting bumpers on cars and putting bolts on things. That's all handled by robotics now. What we need are people that can work on those robotics, and people that can make good decisions, the people that can do critical thinking, the kinds of stuff that comes with college education. And employers don't want to start or relocate to places where we're going to be 49th or 50th in terms of the percent of the population with college degree. College has also gotten crazy expensive. 55% of Arkansans who graduate from college do so with college debt, and the average amount that they graduate with is $25,000 in debt. That has an impact on your ability then to buy a car, to buy a home, to start a family, because you're starting out in a hole. Despite this crisis in education and this tremendous power in education, we have focused an awful lot of attention in this country on what we call the traditional college student. And rightfully so. These are our bright young people that are going to go off from high school into college. They're going to attend institutions like this. They may start at a place like UACCB. But the traditional college student, the person you sort of think of in your mind when you think about what a college student looks like, is really not what we see in most of our colleges. The average college student is not 18 to 22 years old. The average college student is actually over the age of 26. There are about 17.5 million people going to college in this country today. Only 15% of them attend institutions like this. Residential, full-time students, brick and mortar institutions between the ages of 18 and 22. The average age of a person receiving a Pell Grant in this country, that's the program that the federal government provides to help support education, is 26. 1 out of every 4 people attending college is raising a child while going to school. And half of those people are doing so as single parents. Most people are going part-time while they're working, living at home, taking care of family members, maybe working more than one job. And yet most of the resources and most of the energy in education has been focused on brick and mortar institutions aimed at that 15%. So a couple of years ago, the Board of Trustees started, the University of Arkansas system started to look at this problem, and they decided that we were sort of being inundated, literally inundated by out-of-state providers that have been approved by the Arkansas Department of Education that were being authorized to come in here and recruit Arkansans to take online classes by universities outside the state. ADHE has approved over 125 institutions to deliver online education in the state of Arkansas from places like University of Phoenix and Kaplan University, Arizona State, Southern New Hampshire. And we did not have in this state a single institution that was dedicated solely to the mission of serving the adult population in this online world. And so the Board of Trustees, back in March of 14, decided to create a brand new institution called the University of Arkansas System University. And we started taking our first applications in September of this year, and we started teaching our first class first of this month, literally on November 1. We're at about 300 students. We'll hit 300 applications probably tomorrow. So this morning's report had us at 298. And what I want to do now is talk to you a little bit about what it is that the university is doing and how we are designed specifically to serve that working adult, that person that is in the labor force is looking to either change careers or, in our mind, hopefully finish something that they started, try to get those 356,000 people back into college. While that number is depressing in some respects, to me it's encouraging. Instead of seeing somebody who's quit, what I see is somebody who has at least realized the value of going to college. So it's not a hard sell to convince these people to go to college. They started that process at one point, but somewhere along the lines, life got in the way. So what does eVersity do? The first thing we do is we make use of all the fine faculty that we have within the University of Arkansas system. Folks that work at places like Chancellor Frazier's institution, they're the ones that build and teach our classes. So instead of hiring adjunct faculty from off the streets like places like University of Phoenix do, that aren't affiliated with a particular university, aren't full-time faculty members, all the people that build and teach classes for us work at one of the University of Arkansas institutions. That means we have faculty at Batesville, we have faculty at Little Rock, and Phillips Community College, and Monticello, and Fort Smith, and Fayetteville. They all come together to build this. So the students are receiving the same educational experience, the same in-class experience in terms of the quality of the education that they would get on a college campus. Now, they're not getting in intramural fields, and they're not walking across pretty grounds with a quad and Gothic buildings and so forth. But if you're 35 years old and working a couple jobs and raising a child, you probably aren't so much interested in that stuff. You're more interested in the quality of education. The second thing we do is we focus on the schedule quite a little bit. Instead of taking 4 or 5 classes, which a student would do at a place like Lyon College, where you're going to go full-time, you're going to juggle a bunch of different subject matters. That's hard for somebody who's working a couple of jobs and raising a couple of kids. So instead, what we do is 1 class at a time, 6 weeks. Take a week off, 6 weeks, take a week off, 6 weeks. Most of our students can take on 1 additional responsibility. It's hard to juggle 2 or 3 different classes. It's hard to bounce between a biology class and a government class and maybe a psychology class. I'll focus on 1 class, focus intensely on it, do that work, and then move on to the next class. The 6-week period is very similar to what we do in a lot of our brick and mortar schools in terms of summer school. It's about the length of a summer school class. Take a week off and let them move on. And we let you start at any point during the calendar year on any of those start dates. So if your life circumstances change and you're ready to come back to college, you don't have to wait till the second week of August or the second week of January to the beginning of the semester. You can pick any of those 7 start dates in order to come back to school. We make it real easy to apply. The application is free. You participate in an onboarding course that's worth 1 college credit that is also free, that allows us to get to know the student and allows us to collect some information about them before they move into their regular degree plan. And we're focusing on degrees that lead to jobs. I'm a political science major. I started out teaching political science. Probably about the only thing a degree in political science is good for is to become a political science professor. Those of you in the world of work don't run ads in newspapers asking for baccalaureate degrees, let alone PhDs in political science, to come work for you. Otherwise, we'd be unemployed if it wasn't for the degree in political science, being able to be a professor. We are looking for things in the world of work like degrees in business, criminal justice, healthcare management, information technology. And those are the degrees we focus on. Everything from certificates of proficiency all the way up to baccalaureate degrees. We're not offering graduate degrees. We're only doing undergraduate degrees because those are the degrees that 356,000 population needs. We also offer something called a university studies degree, which is kind of a catch-all degree, if you will. That student that started out, you'll know some of these people in your lives that were engineering majors at first and then couldn't really handle Calc 3, and then they decided they're going to go become a business major, and they tried that for a while, and then they decided they're going to be a history major, and they just kind of bounced around from one thing to another. Next thing you know, they just got a whole bunch of college credits and nothing that really ties together. So a general studies degree, a university studies degree allows us to kind of piece that together to offer them a way to get across the finish line. So those are the 5 areas, from associate level degree programs all the way up through baccalaureate degree programs. And in each of these degree programs, we spent a little bit of time talking to employers around the state before we started building them, asking employers what they want from the people that come out of our colleges. In some cases, you have to have a very specific degree. If you want to go be an accountant, you need a degree in accounting. If you're going to go be an engineer and build bridges, we want the person to make sure they have that civil engineering degree. But a lot of times when employers were telling us that what really mattered to them were soft skills, critical thinking, the ability to evaluate and work with data. Could they be on a team? And could they lead that team? How are their communication skills? Did they appreciate people that came from different backgrounds, diverse populations? So what we've identified are about 8 of different skills, different soft skills, some of the ones I've just named. And we've asked our faculty members, as they're building one of these online courses, to tell us what else do you do in that class besides teaching the subject matter in that class? Do you work with data? Is there an opportunity for people to give an oral presentation? Do they lead a team or work in a group? Is there an opportunity for them to gain an appreciation for diverse populations? We note that on the transcript and as part of every class. Now, not every class has all 8 of these, but every class has some of these. So I teach Intro to American Government. That's one of the classes I would teach. In my class, they would work with numbers, because you can't understand American politics unless you can interpret polls and election returns. We would gain and talk about diversity issues. You have to talk about issues like civil liberties and civil rights. So those would be a couple of examples of those things that would be included in those classes. We list these on the transcript along with the course. It would say Introduction to American Government, 3 hours of credit, the letter, the grade that was earned, and then would list these soft skills that the student acquired. So as a hiring person, somebody that when they present their credentials in the world of work out there, they will be able to see at the end of the transcript not only what degree they earned and how many hours they earned, what their cumulative GPA was, but how many hours of critical thinking courses did they take? How many times did they participate in a group project? How many times were they the leader of a project? Those things are things that employers tell us are very, very important to them. Let me tell you one other story about another student of mine, very similar to my dad in many ways. It's about a young man that I used to work with at my last institution, and like my father, I didn't share this in the first part when I was telling us about my father. My father was raised pretty much by his mom. His dad worked on the railroad, and at some point my dad's life, his father, my grandfather, I never knew, he left the family. So my dad was raised by a single mom. And this student's name is DC. He too was raised by pretty much his mother. And he was a high school basketball player, hadn't really thought about going on to college. A friend of his on the basketball team's father brought him to us at the university. We got him admitted, we got him through his freshman year, and about midway through his sophomore year, he broke his hand playing basketball over in the gymnasium intramurals, and he quit going to class. And couldn't take notes because his hand was broken, so he said, I'm just not going to go. So he failed his Spanish class, and he failed his English class. And about the time he got through failing that and went to appeal his financial aid, he just quit going to school. He just stopped. And today, he's not back in college at all. Here's the biggest difference between DC and my father. DC's part of the millennial generation, Generation X, this generation we have with us right now. In this generation, if you have a high school degree, you have a 1 in 4 chance of living in a state of poverty with just a high school degree. In my dad's generation, if you remember the number, it was 5 out of 100 with a high school degree lived in the state of poverty. We have way too many people in this state who started college that did not finish. And we need to get them back into school, whether it's coming to a place like we are right now at Lyon College, if it's getting them back here locally to finish up at UACCB, finishing there, or if that's not an option, it's about coming back to a place like eVersity. I think we're focusing on a model that is catering to that adult learning. The reason we're here today is to ask for your help. Partly to spread the word and let you know who we are, and hopefully you'll turn around and tell people about it. But the chances are, with this many Arkansans who started college and did not finish, you know some of them. They're in your life. You either work with them, you go to church with them, they're neighbors down the street, they're friends of your family. We need to get these people back into school. And we'd love to have them take a look at eVersity. We've got some cards we can pass around that's got some information on it about our website so that you can share that information about it. But more importantly, we just want them to go back to college. Again, whether it's a place like Lyon College or a place like our community college here at Batesville. And we need your help. And we would like to make some connections with you. If you are at a place of employment where you have an employee benefits plan that helps pay for college, or if you have a company newsletter or a way to get out the word, we'd love to speak with you about the possibility about getting some announcements out there about us. We're brand new. We started taking applications, I mentioned just a few months ago. We're teaching our first set of classes right now, and it really is going around. We're not just about the free lunch. We've had a lot of these. We've gone around the state and had a lot of free lunches. We appreciate that. Thankfully, it wasn't turkey. Appreciate you. But that's why we're here today, is to get the word out and to talk a little bit about what we're doing. We've had a very good response in the early days to this. We think we're onto something here. We think we're uniquely well positioned to leverage the reputation of the University of Arkansas system and our faculty to deliver a high-quality product to people that allows them to finish the college degree while they continue to work. Thank you for your time. I'd be happy to respond to any questions that you might have and tell you a little bit more. Yes, sir.
Just for your information, I just came back from working in West Virginia for 5 years in higher education. And much of what you said today is the focal points of the things that are happening in West Virginia. And they're trying to make a difference. The biggest hurdle, though, is still their finances. Even though you provide the diversity in types of programs, location, the delivery method, it's still difficult for many of these people to afford to attend. And you try to get businesses to step up and pay part of that tuition cost. And that's difficult for many of them to do.
It is, and we're doing what we can on that. Let me speak to what our tuition is. It's expensive. It really is expensive. I don't know what your tuition here is at Lyon College. I won't ask you to divulge it, because it's a very different kind of audience than we're trying to reach. We're probably more akin to the price of a community college. We're $165 a credit hour. That puts a class at $495. And that includes everything for us. We do not charge an athletic fee. I don't have a $3 million a year coach I have to pay for. I don't have any intramural fields that I have to maintain. I don't have a police department on campus. I don't have to pay anybody to mow the grass and the quad, keep the buildings and lights on. I'm a product of an environment like this. I loved it, and I think every 18-year-old ought to go off to a college and really believe in the brick and mortar vision. We also include in that $495 the price of books. So we're relying heavily on something that's called OER, Open Educational Resources, which means that we're making use of free materials that are available to you on the internet in to replace that, we've been able to eliminate every textbook from all of our core curriculum classes. In our upper division classes, even if we have to use a book, I'm going to pay for that out of the cost of tuition. So if you've been to a college bookstore lately and you've gone, I encourage you to do it. It's actually depressing to go into a college bookstore. There's an article circulating. Those of us in higher ed, there's a magazine, a newspaper we read called Chronicle of Higher Education. A few months ago, there was a story about a University of California that was, there was a little bit of controversy about the college algebra book. The department chair had written the book and co-authored by the associate department chair. And another member of the math department didn't want to assign the book and got in trouble for not assigning the book. And that's what the story was about, but what I saw in there was the book was $180. And what I kept asking is, why in the world is a college algebra book $180? I mean, this stuff hasn't changed in centuries. College algebra is still pretty much the same stuff. It's not like there's a whole lot of new discoveries there. Why is that book $180 to begin with, let alone whether or not it's the department chair's book should have been assigned? So we're including all that in there. We're doing everything we can. Our students will have access to financial aid. We're going to work real hard with them to try to make them aware of their employer benefit plans. We did find a few employees, for example, our employers going around the state talking about it, to your point about affordability. Some employers like to have the benefits plan on the books, but they don't like to advertise it to their employees, so they can claim to have it, but they don't actually want anybody to make use of it. So we're working really hard to try to get the word out about that, but it is expensive. Yes, sir.
What's your take on the diversity issue of the University of Missouri? Do you see that maybe taking place that...
Well, that's not controversial at all.
I try to be nice.
No. Well, let me tell you about our diversity, and then I'll circle back around and talk a little bit about the issue in Missouri a little bit without trying to get myself in a whole lot of hot water. We're real proud of where our numbers are right now. Keep in mind, we're real early. The average age of our students right now is 36. We are 60% female, and we're 30% African American. The state population is 15% African American. So we're double in diversity. Our numbers right now are double the state average in African American. The problem with Missouri is controversial. I mean, it's deep rooted, and it's not going to go away anytime soon. I think some of the demands the students are making are not grounded in reality. They want, you're starting to see this all across the academy. The demand is increasingly to have 10% of the faculty of the academy being African American. That's a great goal. We should have a more diverse faculty. The fact of the matter is there aren't enough African American PhDs in order to do that. It's going to take a long time. And it's an extremely competitive environment. When you come out of grad school as an African American PhD, the world is your oyster. You get to kind of pick where you want to go if you've got any talent at all, and you get to sort of name your salary because a lot of schools want you. I mean, it's a very competitive environment. It's complicated. I'm a big Jayhawk basketball fan. I grew up in Kansas. I kind of look at the Missouri perspective, what happened through the lens of what's happening in Kansas. And I think it's interesting to see how Kansas has had some of the same issues, but it hasn't bubbled up into the ouster of the administration. And I'm wondering if they have an African-American female chancellor, and they have an African-American dean of students, I think it's the position. So does that help having some people in some key leadership positions? But it's a problem. The academy is not terribly diverse. Got a long ways to go there.
Okay, well, I'll make it over there before too.
Back to diversity, please.
I know a student who needs only one or two courses to graduate from their institution. Do you offer such thing as finite math or courses you may have skipped over because they're very difficult for you?
Yes, so we took a hard look at the core curriculum, again, keeping in mind the kind of student we're trying to attract and where we're going. So we're not teaching engineering, and I'm not teaching a lot of the STEM fields. The closest thing to a STEM field, I guess, we have is kind of the information technology and computer stuff. So college algebra, which has become the default math course that causes so many problems for students, is really a precursor for calculus. That's where you need it if you're headed into STEM field. The Arkansas Department of Higher Education does not require you to offer college algebra, so we don't. We offer what you're calling finite, it's called quantitative literacy. think of it as practical math. It's everyday math, how to interpret it. It's more of a statistics-based kind of math, how to interpret probabilities and read charts and calculate mortgages and the kind of math that you're likely to encounter in your day-to-day life, which is more appropriate. Yes, yes, it's available for somebody to take it. The kind of student you describe is exactly the kind of student we're trying to find. That person that is, 6-9 hours away from graduating and wants to come back. We were down in CrossFit a few weeks ago. There was a nurse down there. She's a full-time nurse. She works a erratic shift. She's the nurse manager for this hospital, so she's kind of on call. Has to come in all the time. She's 5 classes short from finishing her degree. She's a 45-minute drive, which is doable but not fun, up to Monticello. 45 minutes each way at night to go to night classes, and then runs the possibility she's going to have to work an extra shift to get called in. That's who we're trying to help. These people that started a degree and didn't get across the finish line. The person you're talking about on paper looks like a high school graduate, right? When they go apply, that's the last thing they can put down. It's high school graduate, and they can list some college, right? Their prospects in terms of employability, promotions change dramatically if they get to claim that they're a college graduate. It makes a huge difference. We're starting to get stories from some of our applicants. We've got a grandmother who wants to finish college before her grandkids do. I've got a man who is a logger down in South Arkansas who's had some health issues, and he realizes his back's not going to hold out. He wants a desk job, but he can't get a desk job until he gets a college degree. So that's the kind of population we're trying to serve. Yes, ma'am.
Do you have to, is there a difference between an in-state resident versus an out-of-state resident in terms of tuition?
There is not. I'll give you 2 answers to that. First of all, we're focusing right now exclusively on Arkansas. We're only taking applications from the state of Arkansas. But even when we start to recruit outside, we will not have in-state and out-of-state tuition. It doesn't make sense in an electronic world. And I'm also not taking state money, so we're not being funded. Part of what drives that in-state, out-of-state is the notion that the taxpayers of Arkansas are paying to subsidize the public institutions, and so we're going to recruit somebody from Missouri or Oklahoma, and they have to pay a little bit more. Since I'm not taking tax dollars from the legislature, we don't have to do that. So it'll be the same.
Are you going to be restrained by federal regulations for offering courses across state lines?
Well, so you know a whole lot about the world in which we share. So we're not accredited yet. We're a brand new university, and the way we're navigating that is we're partnering with Monticello. So all of our students are enrolled at 2 universities. They're enrolled with us and simultaneously enrolled at the University of Arkansas at Monticello in their general studies program, and that's where their financial aid comes through. What you're asking about is something called state authorization, the ability to recruit out of state. As soon as we are accredited, Arkansas became a member of SARA, the State Authorization and Reciprocity Agreement, and as soon as we receive accreditation, we can sign on to SARA, and that will solve that problem. So that's about 18 months out. I'm also, frankly, not interested right now from just a business standpoint of recruiting out of state. I want to make sure we're a startup. Right, we're a brand new university. I want to make sure we nail this. I want to get all of our procedures tight. I want to make sure we've got everything right. I want to focus on Arkansas for a while, and then we'll go get the Missouri folks and the Oklahomans and the Texans and all that kind of stuff soon enough.
I think Sarah is now up to about 25 states.
Yeah, and it's going to grow. And I don't know that every state, we follow that real closely. That's part of my job as vice president. I'm optimistic that most every state's going to sign on to that. It would be a huge disadvantage in the state that you don't. What he's talking about is to go recruit students in another state, the state has to approve you to come in. And some states have put in very, very strict rules. They were aimed at the for-profits. They were trying to clamp down on for-profits and really be protectionist against the local, for the local universities. The reality is it ends up hurting the state universities probably more than the for-profits, because the for-profits have these armies of lawyers to fill out forms and file these fees, and it became quite easy for them to go do it. And those of us that are public universities were really at a disadvantage. A state like Georgia, for example, wants 1% of your tuition. There's other states that want you to post a bond. And it's all to make sure that you're doing things ethically and appropriately. So what's happened is there's this reciprocity agreement. Essentially, what states are saying is if your state agency will approve you to work in your state, will recognize you to work in our state. So if Arkansas's Department of Higher Education says, yes, you're a legitimate, valid university, you can go recruit in Mississippi, or you can go recruit in Connecticut, if you all sign on to this interstate compact. Probably more inside baseball knowledge than most of them care about.
Wouldn't that seem to be a advantage for you all, because you have a guy who starts out and gets a job in Dallas?
Yeah.
Or gets a job in Tulsa?
Well, what'll help us is the ability to recruit as soon as to be able to, right now, we can't go put up, unless you participate in stereo, you can't go put up a billboard or advertise digitally in another state right now. It's just really kind of crazy. Yes, sir.
Where does your money come from if it's not state up?
We're going to live off tuition.
Just do it.
We're going to run like a business. We're going to eat what we kill.
Are you seeing a focus in particular degree program areas? For example, the school I was at in West Virginia, most of the students we were able to get in program centers talked about either business or criminal justice.
Right, so in we're doing 5 areas, so by some sense I'm limiting the choices to begin with, because we're only starting in 5 areas. Business is probably 3 to 1 more popular than anything else out there right now. Our second most popular is IT, followed by university studies. Criminal justice, the one you mentioned, is actually tailing right now. It's the other one, but I'm not putting a lot of stock on that, because we're only 3 months into this. So I think check back with me in a year on that, and I'll have a little more confidence in where those numbers sort of sort out. Yes, ma'am.
When you complete your degree plan, what does your diploma say?
Right now, you're going to get 2 diplomas. You're going to get one from the University of Arkansas at Monticello that says you earned an associate's degree or baccalaureate degree in general studies from them, and then you'll get one from university that says you earned whatever the associate or baccalaureate is in business or information technology or criminal justice from the University of Arkansas System University. That's what it'll be. It's as if it is a standalone separate institution, just like Batesville and Costcott and Hope and Little Rock and Monticello and Memorial. It's a separate institution. Reports to the Board of Trustees. Yes, sir.
Once you pass your accreditation, that package will drop to 2 degrees and just go to 1 degree.
Yes, sir.
That's just to protect students during the accreditation process.
It's to protect them from it, and it's also to facilitate the financial aid. Because the feds will only award financial aid through an accredited institution. Thank you very much. We'd love to make some connections. As Chris and Nate over here, we've got some cards for you. Thank you for your time and for helping us spread the word a little bit. Appreciate it.
Literacy project this year, we're going to donate a book to our local and Pittsburgh library, and it says Gobble Gobble Crash.
Thanksgiving, that's appropriate.
This is donated on behalf of Dr. Michael Moore for speaking to the Rotary Club of Batesville on November 30th.
Great. Thank you so much. Appreciate it. Thank you.
Okay, just a few quick announcements. Next Monday will be our last meeting here at Lyon this year. So we will meet here at Lyon. Next Monday, we're going to have a little special treat as we eat. As you're coming in, the 3rd graders from Southside Elementary School are going to be here singing for us. And they're going to sing up until it's time for our speaker to speak. So just come on in and have a seat and enjoy the music. On the 14th, we will not have a noon meeting. If you're on my board, we will have a board meeting at US Pizza that day at noon, not 11, at noon. That evening, we will meet upstairs at 6 o'clock for our special party. On the 21st, we're going to meet at Elizabeth. It will be a regular meeting, but it will be downtown on Main Street at Elizabeth. We're going to skip our meeting on the 28th for the Christmas holiday. And we'll meet again back on the 4th, and Lyon will still be closed. We're going to meet at Fox Creek Barbecue in their party room. They've got some new owners down there, and they're fixing that place up, so we're going to go down there and try them out. Don't forget candy. If you're coming tonight, please come grab some of this candy. Don't make little old me haul it all out by myself. Okay. Dr. Moore, if you'll draw the winning ticket for us. That'll be a good night. Better lynch them all. I'm telling you, it gets pretty rough. All right. 595216. Yes. Mark.
Yeah, I gotta get the joke.
We're up to $694, so that's a $347 split.
Come on, Joker.
Pick it, come on.
All right, we'll keep going. Does anybody else have anything for the good of the club? Okay, if not, we'll end as always with the four-way test of the things we think, say, and do. Number one.
This is true.